Hello everybody, and welcome to a new visual horror novel from Japan. First of all, I'd like to just tell you a bit about my plans for this channel. As I'm sure some of you know, YouTube has decided that in order to monetize you need at least 1,000 subs, which I don't have at the moment, but that's okay. At first I was sad, but now I see this as a blessing, so I don't have to stress about whether my content will be demonetized because it's not family friendly. So I hope you can sense what I'm about to say next. So I'll just say it. My upcoming series will not be family friendly. In fact, far from it. If you talk to me for any length of time, you will learn that I love dark psychological horror. Messed up stuff quite a bit. Like all emotions, I feel that experiencing what some people call disturbing helps train your mind to the realities of life. So back to the video at hand. This one is called Phenomeno. I am not afraid of the stone in the night, I think, is under the title here. This game is adopted from a novel by Hajime Ninomiya, which I'm sure you recognize is the mind behind Madoka. Yes, that Madoka. So this was made before that, so I'm intrigued at least. The artist behind this one did the work for Serial Experiment Lane, a series that deeply touched my philosophical beliefs and one of my favorite animes and games. So we got both a great writer and an artist, so let's see what happens. I don't know too much about the story other than we're a college student who moved into a new haunted place. I don't know how disturbing this game is, but I will place trigger warnings if there are, so don't worry. Well, let's start a new game. Let's click on the prologue. Oh, okay. There are things that shouldn't be seen. Often said my late grandmother, and that was quite true. I was drawn to the occult from childhood, and upon entering university, I learned the truth of those words by stepping many times into the edge of the netherworld. Ghosts, beings which no one can decisively determine whether they exist or not. The story that begins here revolves around stories brought forth by them. And this story, it could also be said to be the story of it and I. As its eyes glimmer in front of strangeness, as it breathes out words with a bedazzled expression, it warped the world that I always believed in. It made me anxious of whether the ground I stood on would shake. I would want to look over my shoulder just by listening, and I grew to fear whether someone were peeking from the dark shadow of the door. Maybe it was because the words it spoke included truths about the other side. It included truths that only applied to the scant, grotesque, waning dead ones. Now, after it had disappeared, do I finally know that. As grandmother said, it was a world that I should not have seen. It was a story that was not for the living person. However, I intend to speak of that. I intend to speak about all of that. Because if I don't, it wouldn't be able to rest in peace. Because it, having lived on the edge of darkness, having struggled through the threshold of darkness, would not be able to live in peace. Yes, I'll say it once more. From here on, it's a story that shouldn't be known. Okay. Nice music. Phenomeno. So that might actually be a name. So I'm not scared of Mitsurugi. I think it is a name actually. Case number 1. Flow. Oh. What? Hey, Mother. if the beings called ghosts existed in this world, would it ever be possible for someone to prove their existence such that no one anywhere could argue otherwise? I think it would be impossible, no matter how much humanity evolves. On the flip side, it also means no one anywhere could prove irrefutably that they don't exist. From that standpoint, to discuss whether ghosts exist or not is a complete waste of time. That's why people who can emerge victorious from such a discussion must be people who can purely enjoy ghosts as a source of entertainment. Indeed, I fall under that group, and you could call me quite bluntly as an occult maniac. Mother may not know, but this is quite a niche existence in the world. To be of my age and go ghost this, UMA that is, I know that people laugh at people like me, but you know, there are plenty of things in the world that are inexplicable. Yes. For example, the house I'm living in. This old, almost 30 years old building is by the side of the Tamagawa Waterworks, and partly because it's located in such an odd place, has an incredibly low rent. When I came to Tokyo this spring, I looked for a cheap apartment and found this place. It takes 10 minutes of biking to reach a convenience store. It's surrounded by darkness and covered by thick copse, and because there are no streetlights in the area, it's completely dark at night. However, I enjoy this old building. It was built like an old mountain cottage, as the first floor was a garage and the second and third floors were a blowout, so it was more than luxurious for a person living alone. The kitchen was as cramped as a kitchenette, but it had a living room, a Japanese-style room, a bath, and even an atelier. I don't know what that is. From what I hear, an architect had designed it as a personal workplace. I liked it at first sight. Furthermore, for a place with a bath to be just 30,000 yen in Tokyo, Musashino was unthinkably rare, and even came with an oral story that could not be ignored. 30,000 is expensive? I don't know. This is a house that grants wishes, so said the smiling real estate agent who introduced this place to me. The architect who built this became famous, the illustrator who moved in became busy and moved closer to the city, and the young couple that was living here until last month gave birth to a baby, which led to this becoming open. You're quite lucky. After hearing that, who wouldn't immediately seal the deal? Yeah, I don't know. So I jumped at the opportunity. There was probably a feeling of superiority too, given that my colleagues at university pay over twice the rent and live in rabbit cages. In any case, I was quite pleased at how lucky a man I was with my first time living alone. Okay. Yet, within a month, I realized how big of a mistake that was. I can hear sounds somewhere when I'm sleeping at night. The squeaking of something persistently attempting to open some old door. I had assumed it was just some bad structuring somewhere, but I soon realized that it was odd that it always happened at 2 a.m. I tried going to the living room from my bedroom at the edge of the second floor, and the sound would stop. I thought maybe it was coming from above, and went to the atelier on the third floor, but there was nothing that could be the source of the sound. I planned to eventually organize it to be cooler, but at the moment it was a bare environment with just my desk and a bookshelf. I looked around, but the windows were all shut, so there was nothing to make a sound. After that, I went to the toilet and the bath. However, I could not find anything that could be connected to the sound. So I thought maybe I'm just hearing things and went to sleep again. But then the sound started again. Squeak, the sound of old wood groaning. I could also hear the sound of something scraping. It wasn't like a mouse or a cat. It was an eerie sound, like something trying to crawl out of somewhere dark after having been tormented for a long time. Eventually, that sound stopped, seemingly echoing throughout the house, and felt like it was seeping through the atmosphere around my ear. As a result, I began keeping the lights on throughout the house, and using earplugs when sleeping. However, the problem stopped being just sound. It was about 2 weeks ago. I found a decisive thing. What? I found 7 carved into the wall of the landing of the stairs with something sharp. I immediately checked the doors and windows around the house, but there didn't seem to have been anyone entering. I was probably terrified. It was a pretty big engraving, but I forced myself to think I had just never noticed it before. A few days later, I found near the bathtub 6. Something sharp carved into the windowsill, and then a week ago I found near the toilet 5, and even this easygoing person had to believe it. Something was in this house, and that this was some countdown. I immediately jumped out of the house. I couldn't live in the house anymore. I hadn't made any close friends yet at university, so I lived in karaoke boxes and net cafes for several days. I couldn't talk about this to anyone. I didn't know any monks, nor any mediums. Then I realized, right, maybe the people from Ikaigabuchi, Edge of the Netherworld, would be perfect for discussing this with. The colleagues of mine whom were also in the occult were also into the occult world may believe me. And so, incidentally, they aren't suspicious people at all. No, we are plenty suspicious. Huh? I recorded at the sudden voice from above. When I looked up, I saw Karasu's white face, and she was waving her hand. Yo, Nagi! Karasu! Since when were you there? I checked the time on my cell phone. It was 10:30 p.m. There were still 30 minutes until the offline meeting taking place at 11. Right around when you begin explaining the house that grants wishes to your mother. That's basically the start. I complained as I grumpily placed my stationery back into my bag. Sorry, but you know, sleeping is like our trait. You know? Said Karasu as she smiled cutely. This was a family restaurant near Ichikai Road. We were going to have an emergency offline meeting here with the members of an occult site I frequent. And of course, Karasu wasn't her real name. It was a handle that she used online. Just as I, Yamada Nagiko, go by the name Nagi, she went by Karasu. This was the 3rd time we'd met, but I still didn't know her real name. However, she was a veteran on the Ikaigabuchi site, and thus a big senior to me, who'd only begun looking at the site this spring. Wow, she is decked out. Her appearance was as usual, a purplish velvet dress that reached her ankles, and below that which is a black camisole, or rather, her chest was completely bare. Her breasts looked like they would jump out at any time, which made looking at her awkward. However, this was her uniform of sorts. You're quite early. Did you close shop early today? I asked. Pretty much. Fortune tellers don't have much to do when there are no customers. She took off the stole she was wearing and sat down across from me. But you know, to put it frankly, she played with the skull-shaped accessory shining at her breast as she looked at me. Your house probably has nothing to it. What? What was it? Right. Schema. Schema? Some word used in cognitive science. If you keep thinking you're scared, then you start seeing faces in the ceiling, that sort of thing. Because you're hearing squeaking every day, you began seeing numbers from the scratches that always were in your house. Seriously? Seriously? I mean, you came to Tokyo alone from super ruralness in Shizuoka, and this is the first time you're living alone, right? And then you're living in an old wooden house alone, so it's not too surprising. I used to live in a house that groaned and squeaked a lot, so I know how you feel. It's like the sound of saran wrapping, so it's pretty discomforting. So she said as she raised her hand to order a beer from the waitress. Well, wait then. If this was just me being a wuss, then what should I say to the occult veterans that were coming to the offline meeting? Would I get banned from the wonderful site for being an airhead in just one night? Ah, don't worry about it. She laughed. We're a bunch of folks that love meeting and trading shady stories. But it shouldn't be that simple. There are about 10 people coming to this meeting. And then Karasu said, huh? And looked at me. You hadn't looked? At what? This meeting. I think over 30 people are showing up. What? I hurriedly accessed the Ikaiga Buji offline meeting board through my cell phone. And then opening the house that grants wishes investigation thread and was taken aback. You're right. Why'd the numbers suddenly rocket? Are that many people interested in the house that grants wishes? Unfortunately, not at all. See, even the regulars, Sue and Zippo, are coming to the meeting, right? They wouldn't move for some mere horror tale. Some horror tale. She laughed at the expression I made as she plucked the phone from my hand and then played with it. And then she turned the screen to me. This, the fourth poster going by the name Yoishi. I think this many people are showing up because this one announced their participation. Who is Yoishi? No idea. Said Karasu with a grin as she pulled out a cigarette. She lit the cigarette using a worn, slender lighter, and after blowing out a puff of smoke, quietly whispered, "Those that meet Yoishi die 7 days later." What? There's more. Yoishi isn't a living person. Offline meetings that Yoishi attends ends in terror. What else was there? What is that? Something like an urban legend that started being whispered around oh my goodness, Ikaigabuchi. Yet no one's actually met Yoishi. No one knows if Yoishi is some old man or even what gender they are. However, everyone who attends a meeting that Yoishi goes to remains silent. The entire thread disappears. The participants stop going to Ikaigabuchi or they die. Her low whisper felt like ice-cold water splashing down the back of my neck. On the other side, Karasu happily receiving her glimmering cup of beer and exclaimed, "Gah, delicious!" with a lackadaisical tone. But those are just rumors, right? I asked. And she laughed. That's right. So basically, even if the house that grants wishes is a myth, there is the hope of Yoishi, so everyone's gathering for fun. So you don't have to fret about it any. She said, but I still felt mixed emotions. Until now, until today, I was trembling with fear alone, unable to go home. And then I suggested today's offline meeting in the hopes of getting the opinions of the veterans of Ikaigabuchi. Having the story blown off immediately as my misunderstanding wasn't sufficient to quell my fears. However, if Yoishi had got interested, might the house that grants wishes be real? Who knows? I'm just interested in seeing how Yoishi-kun's appearance changes a horror story that doesn't interest me into something more eerie. Doesn't interest. If it still bothers you, Ikaigabuchi is a page for investigating haunted areas. You can request an investigation. Although, I still think it would just end up being laughed at. She laughed as she quickly finished her beer. Indeed, the Ikaigabuchi site did routinely check out haunted areas around the country regardless of fame. After investigation, haunted areas were graded on a scale of A to D, with A being called the most dangerous of spots. This rating was very unique in that famed areas such as Masakado Kubiduka and Iwainari were given a D rank by Ikaigabuchi. In other words, they were rated at the lowest level of danger. Those must be some places. I'll have to look those up. Supposedly, it was because it had become an area that was evenly split as humans and ghosts treated each other with respect. On the other hand, places given an A rank were often unknown to the common populace. Places such as crime scenes that involved murders brought forth by thick emotions such as infatuation and jealousy. Isolated locales of death by seniors who maintained fanatic delusions, and so on. They say those places serve as lightning rods for souls that resented the current world, souls that had lost personalities and simply become clumps of malicious intent, far beyond saving. As I thought such things, Karasu had begun peering intently at my face. Hey, Nagi-kun. Yes? You have the mark of a meeting. Yes? And this is a girl. Seriously? My expression loosened at her words. Can you tell me a little more? She began playing with the skull-shaped accessory near her breast as she continued. How should I put it? It's a very dense meeting. Like two souls previously split are reuniting, but, she said, seemingly looked through me and at a different world. It's hard to say if meeting this girl will actually result in happiness for you. What's that? And furthermore, huh? Wait, isn't she dead? Hey, isn't that like being possessed? You've gotta be kidding me, I thought, but I also remembered that she would tell me such ominous things every time we met. Previously, she told me that I had bicycle luck, and then I got hit by a motorcycle on the way back home. A bike with the baskets in it. And then she told me I'd had gold fortune and was happy, but then I stepped on a gold-colored thumbtack at home. In other words, she was very good at presenting unfortunate things in a way that you can't tell is unfortunate, which is an important skill for a fortune teller, I suppose. You know, Karasu, if you're a fortune teller, shouldn't you also tell people how to avoid misfortune? I asked. But it's up to the person whether to think of something as unfortunate. She stuck out her tongue in a cute way, and then she shouted to the employee passing by, "Another beer, please." As I sat there watching over her in a vexed manner, the door chime sounded repeatedly, and suspicious-looking people followed in one after another. Seeing how they were coming over after noticing Karasu, I deduced that they were people attending the offline meeting. Yo, Karasu, as beautiful as always. Long time no see to you too, Maru. I'm so excited. We have such karmic dispositions. And I think that's enough for this video, so I will see you guys in the next part. This is interesting so far, so I'll see you guys later.